Please reread the relevant passage and retry this question before watching the video. So this is an adding question. We know that it's an adding question because it has the word adding in it. We need to know that an adding question is part of the understanding grouping, which is where you have to understand what's going on in the passage to be able to answer. And many students, before they come to us, like to just go from answer to answer or question to question without reading all the passages. But we cannot emphasize enough, you should be reading everything super closely as you're working through the essays because of these understanding questions. You will actually be able to go faster. You'll be able to answer the understanding questions faster, and there are a lot of them if you're reading everything super closely. So for this one, we're going to read the passage and then we're going to determine if we should or should not add this at the location listed. And when we read the passage, we know that it is about Wilson Snowflake Bentley and about his photomicrograph of an individual snowflake. That is the general gist of what we have read so far is about. And when we read what they're adding in the 1600s, Kepler, this other guy, published the treaty on the six-cornered snowflake. And so this has nothing to do with anything that we have talked about so far. And so if you recognize that it isn't necessary, it must be necessary to understand the passage or fully in line with what is already being talked about in the passage for an adding question to need to be added. And this is not. So, based on that, we can already know that it's a no. If you don't know if it's a yes or a no, a good thing to do on these is just not read the yes or no and just read what comes after. So we'll go ahead and go to the no's, but then we'll go back to the yeses and just read what comes after it with the assumption you couldn't determine if it's yes or no. So we know that it's no because it detracts from the essay's focus on Bentley and his photomicrographs. So that is accurate. So we're not going to choose it though. We're going to read the other one because it detracts from the essay's focus on Bentley's farm in Vermont. And the essay is not about Bentley's farm in Vermont. It's about Bentley and his photomicrographs. So we can go ahead and eliminate D. So let's say we didn't know if it was yes or no. For answer A, you can just read what comes after the yes or no to see if you can eliminate based on that. A, because it establishes a timeline for the study of snowflakes throughout history. So this might be true, but it's not necessary for what we're reading in the essay. They've also already established the timeline because they've told us as early as 1610 that scientists have begun studying the basic structure of the snowflake. So we already have that timeline. This isn't helping us better understand the timeline. So we can eliminate answer A just based on what comes after answer A. Answer B, we're skipping the yes because it establishes that Bentley was influenced by Kepler's work. So we don't actually know that. It doesn't establish that. It just tells us that that exists. We don't know if this is true or not. It's possible, but if it's not explicitly stated in the text, then we shouldn't assume that. And that's something you're going to learn again and again in these questions. So we can go ahead and eliminate answer B because we don't even know if it's true. And therefore, we're only left with answer C, which we do know it makes sense with what we know about this passage. And therefore, if you understand this question, please add it to your worksheet, master it, and go back 5. And we do recommend that instead of just doing the next question you missed, that you do all of the adding questions that you missed before going through the others. And if you want more practice with this and you didn't miss any other adding questions, it might also be worthwhile to do the mastery for adding by getting 10 questions correct in a row on the mastery, which will expose you to all the variations of these and make it much easier for you to get these questions correct, if not always moving forward significantly higher than you otherwise would.